Hey everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And today we're talking about Devon's pick, The Phantom of the Opera. Before we get into that though, how you guys doing? It's been a week.
Yeah,
It has been a week.
What a week. Lemon, it's Tuesday.
Kind of though. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a good one, but it's been a long one so far. I'm ready for Friday.
Somebody told me it's the third week of school and I was like, is it? It feels like the fifth.
Oh,
Like I'm ready for a vacation. So
I mean, it's almost right. You guys get like half term?
no. I have a long weekend though. Like I worked on Labor Day, so
Oh, sure.
but yeah. Good talk.
Almost. I tried. I tried. Look, I tried.
Yeah.
I tried for you.
So
It's okay.
we're going to start the show off by talking about things that we watch in pop culture this week. I think I put these in order. Maybe I didn't. Let me check that quick. Devon, Vamp.
So Ryan, did you have off for Labor Day?
Well, I normally have off on Mondays, so that's my schedule.
They didn't give you an extra holiday for that?
I mean, if it's I need to check my HR work paperwork, but if it's a paid holiday, I get paid regardless if I'm scheduled to work that day or not. So
Got it.
if it's paid,
Listen.
I get the pay. If it's not, then it's just
Listen,
I have
this is
3
the stuff
days-
I wanted
yeah.
to get into in this podcast.
Yes.
Is your HR paperwork. This was the goal of tonight, not the phantom. It was the nitty gritty of your company.
The Phantom of Labor Day paychecks.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, let's get into it. So we like to start off the show by talking about things that we've watched in pop culture. Like we said, it's been a week. Like we've all been crazy schedules and such, but we have a little bit of a follow up from last week with Devon, who last week we had. In case you're getting caught up on the show, last week we had our back to school triple feature where we each picked a film that had to do with schools for back to school because schools are starting and all of that. My pick was Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit, knowing full well that Devon has never seen Sister Act 1. So Devon, what did you watch this week?
Guys, I watched Sister Act 1.
Or just Sister Act, if you will.
yeah.
They didn't do a tagline to this one?
No.
It's not like Sister Act 1
No.
gaining the habit or something?
It's okay. So the poster here has the caption on it. Actually, let me pull it up on my phone so I can actually read it. No sex, no booze, no men, no way.
Oh,
Yeah.
not what I would have picked for Sister
Yeah.
Act 1 is the...
And then at the top of the poster it just says whoopee.
Does it though?
Because that's how I read her name. Whoopee Goldberg.
You're doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I can't watch The View seriously. That reason alone.
Oh, I hope that's true. Guys, this was a really good movie. I like this one so much better than 2. Do you guys have that same thing? Do you guys like this a lot better than 2?
I like them both equally.
Yeah, same.
No way.
I
Really?
Yes,
I-
Well, because we grew up with them, Devon.
yeah.
Okay.
We grew up with
I'm quicker to watch 2 just because I enjoy the school stuff a little bit more. Like having 1 as the foundation with the nuns and stuff is great, but I just like the fun in 2 a little bit more. So
I mean, that's fair. There was a little bit more fun in 2, I think. And there was a little bit more music in 2 than I thought there was going to be.
let me put it this way: I have listened to my Sister Act 2 soundtrack on vinyl. I have not opened Sister Act 1.
Well, they mostly do the songs in Sister Act 1 in the opening bit of Sister Act 2. Like, when
Exactly.
you told me, Devon, they recap Sister Act 1 in the opening, you were spot on, man. That's
I know.
exactly what they do.
Do you know why?
'Cause-
Because I had seen Sister Act 1. Yeah.
It honestly surprised me how much I enjoyed this one in terms of, like, the songs that they did, in terms of, like, the plot. There's still, like, the relatively, like, unrealistic world that they live in that I think is sometimes funny. Where, like,
Yeah.
they play, like, they're just singing, like, a song in church, and, like, wandering teens come in because it sounds cool. I'm like, all right, that's never happened in the history of any church. But I thought it was very fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
you liked it more than 2?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I now want to go back to 2 at some point and watch it knowing what I know now, instead of just like, well, they like, because the nuns to me seemed like the most fun part of Sister Act 2, and I wanted more of them, and now I got more of them. So I wonder if now with this baseline, I'll like them more in 2.
Okay. I watched a thing this weekend.
Tell me.
My wife and I sat down on Sunday when we celebrated Labor Day, and we watched Super Mario Brothers the Super Mario Brothers movie, the new one, not the one with John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins.
What'd you think?
This movie is delightful. It's so much fun. There were so many jokes that just hit home and were perfect. Because this is one of those movies that the students that I work with have been talking about in like the film classes. And there was like a moment that somebody brought up when I was around, and I was like, oh, that's a weird choice. I wonder why they did that. And then as soon as I saw the scene, I was like, I know exactly why they did that. And let me tell you why they did it. And that's not an excuse for them doing it, but there's a reason, and it's silly, but that's why. And I told them that today, or I told them that this week, and they're like, oh yeah, I guess that would make sense. It's like, yep.
Well, now you gotta tell me, what was it? What did you?
There's a flashback. So the whole thing is Luigi gets captured. There's a flashback to like Luigi's captured, and it's a flashback to when they're younger, and Luigi's getting picked on in the playground, and Mario sticks up for him. And the whole thing was like, why is this part of the movie? Like the conversation was, it doesn't make any sense to the plot. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense to the plot. Why they have it is so they get the character designs of baby Mario and baby Luigi into the movie.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of fun Easter eggs, and Yoshi eggs. Yeah. This is a lot of fun. We'll probably have to do this on the show at some point before the end of the year.
Because Ryan, you haven't seen this, right?
I've seen half of it. I enjoyed it. I had to go to bed.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So
good.
Highly recommend.
I can't wait to talk about it on a whole episode now.
Yes. It'll be fun. So at the rate this year is going, we have like all the video game adaptations to talk about. So
yeah, we certainly do.
All right. So let's get into today's main topic. 2004's The Phantom of the Opera. Devon, this is your pick, because each week, if you're new to the show, we go through and make each other watch movies one of us has never seen. I had never seen Phantom of the Opera that I can remember. So, but yeah, Devon, this is your pick. Go ahead and introduce it for us.
Sure. So this is 2004's Phantom of the Opera, directed by Joel Schumacher, starring Gerard Butler as the Phantom, Emily Rossum, and Patrick Wilson. I had seen this movie first when in high school, because we had done a Phantom of the Opera medley, and if you want high school stories from that, I have high school stories from that.
I've got one on deck for that. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But we have so we did it for that. So for that reason, one of our band classes, we sat down and watched this movie, and honestly, I fell in love with the music straight away. I owned the music book for saxophone and played through most of the songs pretty frequently. I've seen this movie at least probably 8 to 10 times. I've seen the play live in Los Angeles once. I've seen it in West End twice now. I have a Phantom Bear. I like this musical a lot. I like the music in it a lot. I'm a bit of a fan. Now I understand that this isn't perfect. I understand the movie adaptation isn't perfect. I understand that the play itself, or the musical itself, isn't perfect. And one of my favorite things to do is just talk about Phantom, even if it's not positive. So I'm so excited for both of your takes on this. I cannot wait. Let's start with let's not ask how you liked it first. Let's start with your exposure to this first. So, Ryan, was this your first watch of this movie? What is your history with Phantom?
So I remember when this movie was coming out, it was a big deal. I was in a commercial art graphic design class when I was in high school at our local VOTAC, and our teacher was very very interested in this movie. So like we heard
Okay.
about it nonstop until it came out. Um, I always liked the Phantom's theme, um, the one song in it, and I don't remember if I saw it in theaters or not. If I did, it was because my parents wanted to see it, and of course, I had to go along. But I do know that we owned this on VHS and DVD, and I did watch it several times. Not on my own will, though.
But it just like was on and
It
like
was
around
just
when you went.
it was just on and around, and it was the it's still mid early millennium, so there was just times where it's like, I'll just sit in the living room and watch this movie. There's nothing else to do.
It was my exact experience with the movie Cats, by the way.
Yeah.
You
Just wanted
watched
to let
Cats
you
on VHS?
Yeah, the original one, like the original Broadway supercut one, absolutely. Uh, so Alan, before we ask how you
Yes.
liked it, I just want to know what
Yes.
is your history with this?
So my history with this is I was in the same high school band as you.
You were? Oh my gosh.
I think I was in choir the day that you guys watched the movie because I
Right.
don't remember watching it. But I remember playing the melody of all of the songs of this
Mhm.
in band. I think we played it twice that year. But I remember that, and I've known the music. I've heard like renditions of it, like covers from different artists. Like for some reason, I have a bunch of John Barrowman songs on my phone. So he does a version of Music of the Night, I think.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. But there was also a duet with Kelly Clarkson and Josh Groban doing All I Ask of You that I had at one point. So I like the music, but I've never really sought out the movie. It was one of those shows that I was like, I'll see it on Broadway one day, and then they closed it on Broadway. But yeah, so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the music beforehand and
Gotcha. But
Yeah.
it never watched the movie.
never watched the movie.
Got it. So then now to the big question then. After having watched it, we'll go with Ryan first. Ryan, what did you think of it watching it? Not passively with your parents watching it in the room. You actually assumably sat down and watched it end to end. What did you think?
I had completely forgotten everything about this movie.
Oh,
If that gives you any answers to what I thought about it as a teenager, I mean, so I felt like I was almost watching this thing for the first time. Um, there were moments I liked, there were moments I didn't, and there were certain characters I just can't get over, and and it leaves me with questions about how I've heard people talk about this play in general, and I don't know if that's because of how badly this movie either did a hatchet job to the original story, or if I'm seeing themes in the play that weren't necessarily supposed to be there and I'm reading too much into it.
I cannot wait to talk about that because there's a lot in this story that can read as a little bit strange or a little bit problematic or a little bit weird, and there's a lot that the movie did very differently than any adaptation I've seen. So I'm really excited to talk about that. So please, please, please keep that for later. I cannot wait. So then, with that in mind, Alan, you came to this new. What did you
Yes.
think of it?
Real quick, I wanted to remember every word you just said for later in the show.
Oh no!
Okay.
Oh no!
I enjoyed this. I watched this with headphones on, so I got like the full musical experience of it as I watched the rental on YouTube. Uh, but I had to rent it. So on the scale of things how angry that I am that I had to rent it, I'm slightly annoyed, but it was worth it. I enjoyed it. There were things about it that reminded me of other stuff that we'll get into. But yeah, it was fine. Not knowing the Broadway show, like never seeing it on Broadway. I don't have that to compare it to, but my wife, who has seen the show on Broadway multiple times, was like, "Don't watch the movie; it sucks."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Got it. So speaking to that quick, generally speaking, that's what the fan base for Phantom thinks. is that in general the movie sucks pretty hard in comparison to it, and a lot of it is the performances. So the Phantom, how Gerard Butler plays him, some of the effects in it aren't as good. Some of generally speaking, people don't like Emily Rossum very much either as Christine. Um, but it's just not as good. It really isn't as good as seeing it live in theater. And part of it is, and Ryan, this might be one of your problems. The Phantom can be played a lot of different ways. He's a bit like, and this is a really poor comparison, so I'm sorry for anybody that cares about these things. He's a bit like Hamlet, where if you play the Phantom wrong, the Phantom comes across as a very, very, very awful character. And I think Gerard Butler doesn't play him very well.
Is that Gerard Butler not playing him well, or was that the direction he was given? Because I don't know, given the words he says, given the words and the sentence structure that he says and half of the things that come out of his mouth, I don't know how you could play that to not make it look like he's a complete D-bag.
Oh, okay. So he's a complete D-bag. Like
for me, yeah, I mean, look.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Furthering that conversation, I don't think that's entirely his fault. There's a bigger villain in this, based in this movie. There is one person who is to blame for everything that happens.
Tell me.
And she gets off scot-free. The mother, the ballerina teacher. She's
Madame
the one
Geary.
She's the big bad in this, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think the big bad in this is Opera. That's not kid ourselves. Like there's the whole musical style of Opera.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna
Ryan,
that to myself.
Ryan, we're gonna have to talk then about the sequel to this, because
I cannot wait to talk about that.
Yeah. So there's a sequel called Love Never Dies. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
Ryan.
Let's save that. Let's save that for a bit, because I almost watched that.
Don't. Oh my gosh, Ryan, Alan, no.
Yeah. Just for the show. Like, how committed am I to the bit? Very.
None.
There's not much I wouldn't do for this podcast. Luckily, it was very late that night, and I decided against it. So
I would have been so sad if you had seen it, because I know the premise. Someone's told me the premise of Love Never Dies. It was like Andrew Lloyd Webber's like passion project, this musical. He workshopped it all to death. And we'll get into specifics of the plot later. But I won't even watch it. And I love Phantom of the Opera. I will not watch the second one. Will not.
Will you watch Bad Cinderella though?
100% I would. Oh, super watch Bad. It sounds awful as well. So, Ryan, let me help to answer some of your questions about the Phantom. So, in terms of the language, in terms of the sheer dialogue, that doesn't really change between the movies. So, at one point when he goes, "You little lying Delilah," that happens on stage too, and it's as awkward on stage as it is here.
No, see, that doesn't bother me because of. So
that kills me. Tell me.
It's the fact, and this is my problem. And maybe I'm looking at this through modern eyes, and I should be giving it some more slack, like I do the whole lying Delilah line. I don't know. He wants love and affection in return from his pupil, from his student, because he is giving her all of these things that she never asked for. And he's assuming and expecting love and affection on his terms in return from her, without any concept to what she wants and cares about. And what happens later on at the end of this movie that we can get to, and then all of a sudden he has like his like moment in the light. Like, no.
Oh boy.
There's two. Oh. No. There is. You don't have someone who's been that secluded from other human contact, being the same person that doesn't really know social cues, has been living in the sewers his whole life, or basement dungeon, whatever it is, and whatever play version of this that there is.
Candle Factory.
Candle Factory, thank you. And you have that one thing makes up for what, 25 years of self-isolation.
So I'm gonna frame it like this to you, Ryan. I'm gonna say that people like the Phantom. So the Phantom is a bad guy, unequivocally. He's a bad guy. His motives are bad. His motives are shitty, and his motives are icky. That I'm not arguing that, but there's a factor here that I'm gonna call the Snape factor. So Snape in the Harry Potter movies is a jerk the whole time. He makes fun of Lily Potter. He makes fun of Harry. He's not a redeemable character. But people go, oh, but he's so deep because he had a crush on Lily and we didn't know until just now. And that one small redeeming thing, because he had a crush, because he had a bad whatever, like made up for it for some people. That is exactly the same way for the Phantom. Because he had a bad childhood, because his mother abandoned him, because he like saw the light and was like, no, I'm in the wrong, go ahead. That act of redemption is enough for people to buy into that character arc in the same way that people buy into the fact that Snape said he had a crush on Lily Potter was enough to completely redeem his whole character for him.
I think you're simplifying Snape a little bit too much.
We'll have to have a larger talk about Harry Potter because I don't love a lot of it. I mean, it's fine. It's fun. It's very fun.
But I feel like there's more to the Snape thing than just he liked Lily Potter. It's more that, yes, he liked Lily Potter and she married James, but he also spent, after her death, he spent all those years protecting Harry and was undercover to protect Harry. And I think a lot of the redemption for Snape comes from Alan Rickman's performance.
Well, so, that's certainly true.
Yeah.
And Gerard Butler didn't do the same thing.
No. Gerard Butler is no Hans Gruber. So no matter how many action movies he's in.
Okay, so people can take that as redemption if they want. I'm not, simply because I don't believe that it takes a half second for someone to snap out of the lifelong isolation and torment that he put himself through. And on top of that, he didn't really put it through himself either. He was abused and isolated before he was down there, and was put down there for hiding for, I'm going to assume, some people might be like, we're going to hide you for a week and then they'll stop looking for you and then we'll take you out and you can do whatever. No, she kept him down there.
I think the bigger issue we're talking about here is villain redemption arcs. And
exactly.
Like, are there, like, if we start nitpicking villain redemption arcs, like, Ryan, how do you feel about Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi?
That's exactly where I was going to go with this.
I do not want to turn this into a thing about you.
But,
I mean, the thing is, I'm talking about a movie that this is coming from a whole lifetime of myself, knowing people who see this as this huge romantic story.
Yeah.
And this huge, like, this, that's what I was expecting. I thought that this was like, okay, so first off, what I know about the Phantom of the Opera, I got mainly from a modern retelling of this that came out in the 70s called Phantom of the Paradise. It was my dad's favorite movie.
Fun.
So I saw that a lot. So I thought, okay, this is a dark, twisted 1970s like retelling. And from what I heard from a bunch of people that I know growing up about the Phantom and how romantic it is, and then seeing the Phantom and how cynical that was, and I'm like, okay, so the Phantom is this guy who's a genius, who's mangled and stays out of the light because he's, ashamed of how he looks, but he's just really passionate, but he doesn't really want to hurt or harm anyone. And he really does care about this woman, and this woman has to learn to kind of like, okay, he's a little kooky, but he's fine. And then I actually watched this and not just, have it on in the background when I was a teenager, and I'm going, no, this guy is a jerk. And he's expecting love in return when that's not like, it's... that's where all of this is coming from. When it comes to Darth Vader in Star Wars, I didn't have a whole lifetime of never really watching Star Wars, and then people telling me that, oh, this movie is like Darth Vader, like he's such the anti-hero and all of this other stuff, and then like watching Star Wars for the first time, like I have a whole lifetime to like
Yeah.
rationalize Darth Vader's redemption arc, which I don't really feel like he was really redeemed anyway. It was like, oh no, he turned good at the end. I'm like, okay, fine, he's a Force ghost. People still see him as a giant villain in that, in the whole, as
Okay.
Darth Vader.
All right.
No, I thought you had more. No, sorry. Okay.
I'm sorry. Like that's my main thing. That's really it.
That's fair. I mean, so one of the things that is very different between this and any version that I've seen is that Gerard Butler plays the Phantom very aggressively, and in any other version that I've seen, they play the Phantom almost very sad, and he never rises to the same kind of anger that Gerard Butler's performance does. Especially the version that I saw recently in West End. If he ever went on the offensive at all, so there wasn't this like big fight in the graveyard like there was in this movie. It was mostly just him standing on top of the grave shooting fireworks roughly in Raoul's direction, but nothing as threatening as I'll lunge at you with a sword.
So going back a bit to what Ryan was talking about, I think there is, for most of this, there is like that story of he is just misunderstood, but then there is that turning point on the rooftop in the film where he does the reprise of All I Ask of You, and then that's where he just goes off the deep end. Like I think there is to a point that Ryan, your understanding of this character and how people see this relationship was accurate, but there is a point where it just turns into Dateline late night special where he's just completely goes off the rails.
And you're right. I mean, I think that really is the turning point for his character, because up until that point, he's what Ryan said. He's passionate about his music. He's passionate about it through Christine. And
there was something about that scene on the rooftop I need to talk to you guys about, because it's something I've been skirting around this whole episode, and I'm going to come back to the rooftop, so just bear with me here. Devon, you read off the names at the top of this show about who made this movie. Did any of those names sound familiar to you?
Oh, all of them. I mean, Patrick Wilson, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Joel
Schumacher.
No.
Okay. Who was that second to last one?
Schumacher.
Guys, I need to tell you why I really like this movie.
So for everybody that isn't watching, he just took off his Hawaiian shirt, is wearing a Batman shirt. There's a Batman Forever.
It's a Batman movie. It's a Batman movie. It's a Batman movie.
Well, there is a background character wearing a Batman costume during the Masquerade Ball music number.
I didn't know that. I truly didn't know that.
So Joel Schumacher would not be directing this if he did not direct Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
Please walk me through that.
Okay. So going back to the rooftop scene, I had something ready for this. I will post it on our socials. That rooftop scene where he's doing the reprise of All I Ask of You. The only thing I could think of was the Kiss from a Rose music video with Seal in his shirt blowing in the wind.
No.
And I put it together and it works. Like,
oh, I'm so upset about this.
Yeah. So check us out on Instagram to see that. But the way the theatricality of the Phantom in this and the way he moves with his cape and the way he like goes down to his tunnels, like at certain points where he just breaks through glass, like it's a Batman movie. I rewatched Batman Forever for this, and beat for beat, there are just nuances that the character does in this that Batman does too. Like there's so much about this that I don't think would have worked with Joel Schumacher, like with any other director. But since Joel Schumacher had 2 Batman movies under his belt, like it makes sense. And then Devon, the descriptions that you read off about this movie at the beginning, like, do you remember what they were? That was your homework. Do you remember?
I don't remember. No,
Okay.
no. We'll have to rewind it to listen to it.
A misunderstood interpretation of the character.
That was it.
Like different from other adaptations. Hello, bat nipples. The George Clooney's not getting justice. Hold on a second.
Oh, there's a George Clooney.
Yeah, it's the George Clooney one.
Oh, he's got it. Oh, yep. It's
the bat nips.
Yep. Play unmasked Batman and win on a drink thing.
Yeah,
Is that
from
McDonald's
Taco
or Burger King or
Taco Bell. Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. Okay.
Oh, wow. What a find. Also, that is a take on this movie that I've certainly never heard before. And I am so happy that you brought that up because it makes sense.
It also gave me an excuse to put out all my Batman Forever stuff. Because I've got the Batmobile and the Batcave and the color forms and the Two-Face Ryan gave me. Like,
so now I need to get you a little Phantom of the Opera action figure to fit in that little Batcave now.
Yeah. I was going to, I have a Robin mask that kind of looks like the Robin mask from the movie. I was going to wear like to do my reveal, but
did that change how you watched the movie?
Absolutely. Like I went into this knowing it was Joel Schumacher, the director of one of my favorite Batman movies. And I think that definitely twisted how I watched this movie. And the other thing that I was thinking about when I was watching this is it reminded me a bit of Moulin Rouge.
Interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just the time period that it's set in or just the flashbacks to like a different time that they do at the beginning and at the, like throughout the movie. Like it's just the musical and the theater in Paris and the turn of the century. Like it felt very, very familiar in that sense. Like I don't think if Moulin Rouge hadn't come out, I don't think we would have gotten the live action, the film adaptation of Phantom.
Yeah, Alan, you're not the only one that had that feeling about it because Kristen was watching this with me, and we were talking about the movie and issues I was having with it as it was going on, and then she said, "Yeah, well, she said, yeah, well." One thing I can tell you is that Moulin Rouge definitely did it a lot better than this one. And I was like, well, what? And then she said it again. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I paused and I said, well, I mean, at least, Moulin Rouge was made for, was made to be a movie first. And this wasn't. She goes, yeah, no, I know, but it still did a better job.
Well, so I'm curious, what did Moulin Rouge do a better job of? Because we've done Moulin Rouge on the podcast. If you want to listen back to that episode, definitely do. It was a fun one. But, like, what did it do better?
Okay, so, I mean, for me personally, every musical number in Moulin Rouge, from the very first time I saw that movie as a kid, I could tell you the majority of what the musical numbers were. I may not be able to recite to you the music or give you the name of the song, but I could definitely tell you like what the numbers were, what they did, when it was in the movie, like stuff like that. With this one, the only musical numbers that got me engaged was, I guess, Music of the Night, the one where he's leading her down to like his lair. And everything, like the actual Phantom of the Opera music, like the famous like piano tones,
the theme, yeah.
That, and then the Masquerade, like which that moment was out of place for me because I felt like even though throughout the entire movie they would randomly sing because it's a musical and it's an opera, so they're going to sing, but there wasn't enough established big musical numbers that weren't part of a play in the storyline, that scene really threw me off at first. I'm like, hang on a second, is this a masquerade ball and it's an opera, so they're doing like a musical number? Or am I watching something they're doing on stage because they're trying to promote something? And it took me a little bit to realize what was actually going on, because that almost felt like the end of Footloose, where it's like all of a sudden everyone knows how to dance.
The thing that took me out of it for that number is the rest of the movie feels like it's a musical, like a movie musical. Masquerade just felt like it was, okay, we're going to take this dance number from the Broadway show and film it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not wrong.
It's not wrong, but I'm also not watching this on Disney Plus, and it's not actually on stage. So it just felt weird. Like the staging of it just threw me off. So.
Well, what's interesting is I think it's supposed to, like, at least in the stage adaptation, it's supposed to build tension a little bit, because you're supposed to now see every single person wearing a mask, much like the Phantom that you've seen the whole time. You're supposed to go, oh, he could be anywhere here, and especially when the two in charge of the theater go, it's a pity the Phantom's not here. Let's turn around to this whole stage.
Okay, two things I need to talk about. They both involve Jim Carrey, but not in Batman Forever. One, the mask things. All I could think about was we all wear masks, metaphorically speaking, like from The Mask. Like that's all I could think about throughout Masquerade. But then the one theater owner, did you recognize him from anything else?
No. Which one?
The one from Ace Ventura, when Nature Calls.
Wait, was he the Monopoly guy? No, he's the main bad guy.
He's the main bad guy. He's the one with the guano on his boot.
Simon Callow.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I didn't even realize that.
Every time he came on screen, I'm like, guano! Like...
No, and I'm glad I didn't realize it, because it would have ruined it a little bit.
It's all connected. I'm like Jim Carrey in The Number 23, also directed by Joel Schumacher. It's all connected, man.
Oh, well, so hold on, Ryan, to your point about Masquerade and the Phantom of the Opera being really big musical numbers, have you ever seen Les Mis?
I tried watching it.
Is that really hard for you? Because it's similar, isn't it? It's a sing-through, where there aren't big musical numbers, they're just singing.
I have to say, I really wasn't in the right headspace for it, because I didn't realize that's what it was, and that's not the type of movie I was in the mood for. I thought, so when it comes to these classic musicals, I didn't do theater in school. I didn't do music. I was in choir in 6th grade, and I got yelled at by the choir teacher because he wanted us to do more hand movements than actual singing, and I got tired of it, so I stopped doing that. And he yelled at me, and I was like, I'm out of here then. So it's whatever. But anyway, so when Les Mis came out, and eventually it got to the point where it was on like HBO or something, or whatever, and I was like, okay, yeah. So I know it's based off a play. I got that from just noise around me. And I'm like, okay, and it's a musical or an opera. Okay, fine. I've seen stuff like this. It'll be like maybe 20-30% talking, and the rest will be singing and like numbers and stuff. That's fine. And then it started, and I'm like, no, I can't do this right now. It looks interesting. I'm very interested in the story. I love who's in it, but I can't do this right now. And I just never went back to it.
That'll have to be a musical we do next then. Like, knowing what it is.
I think if we're out of our San Francisco era, we're into our musical era.
We might be. We very well might be into our musical era, and I'm not mad about it, because we started with Sister Act, which is kind of a musical. I mean, it's in West End, right?
No, I'm not. It is, but that's a different version of it. Like, no, I think maybe that was our transition into because it was San Francisco, and then it's a little bit of music. So.
But Alan, did you have the same reaction to the songs, or did you, since you've done them in band and know them as separate pieces?
Seeing them in context was a little bit different. I enjoyed all of the songs in it. Like Masquerade was the only one that I had an issue with, mainly because of the blocking. But I will never be able to watch that scene with the Phantom on the roof without seeing Seal with the bat signal behind him.
I'm so worried to
Um,
watch your video now.
I'll send it to you right now.
You
Give me a
have to.
second. Yeah. Because I do want to get your guys' reaction to it. So let
Okay,
me.
good. So while he's sending it, then just quick question for the group: what was your favorite song? Ryan, what was your favorite song?
The Phantom one. If
The
that's
Phantom theme.
Songs of the Night, yeah, the Phantom. Because I've heard that covered by metal bands. I've heard
Yep.
that covered by punk bands, and it's one of the very few songs played on an organ that I actually like. And I feel like it's because of how like deep and dark it is. The notes anyway.
Mhm.
But the one thing that was very familiar to me when I was watching it.
Great time for him to freeze.
Oh, good. He froze for you too. I was like, what happened to me?
So I sent the video. So you should
Okay,
have it.
cool.
So maybe that's what made him freeze. Now I feel bad.
Oh, did you send it through? There
Facebook.
it is.
Yeah. It looks like Ryan's sleeping.
It really does. It's incredible. Okay.
This
so
is what
while
this is what happens when Ryan goes to the opera. He falls asleep.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah.
Tuckered out. All right. While I watch this.
Yeah.
Oh wait, here's Ryan. He's back.
Hey, so what's the last thing you heard? Last thing.
So you said that your favorite. So you liked the Phantom of the Opera one. You've heard that covered by a bunch of metal bands. But then you said the
Yeah.
one thing I will say is, and then there's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
I was halfway through talking and I looked up and I realized you guys were frozen and I'm like, oh crap, and then my mind
Yeah.
just went blank.
You know what's great? Like I have to edit that now because he's still talking in his recording, and then it's just gonna be us talking like a bunch of jerks over top of him. Which is I'm not, just now realizing I've never fixed before. So there are multiple episodes where we do that.
We're just talking right over Ryan. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Ryan.
Yeah. So 41 minutes. I gotta edit that.
So I have this video pulled up. I'm ready.
Okay,
You just
Ryan.
Want me to press play?
If you can, Ryan, I'll count you guys in so you can watch it,
Okay.
and then Ryan, you got it pulled up.
Oh, I had no idea.
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
got unfrozen.
It's probably why your internet froze. Is because I sent you a video.
It could be. While he pulls it up, Alan, quick, what was your favorite song?
All I ask of you, mostly because that's in my vocal range.
Oh, incredible!
So
Have you been singing it around?
Not recently. That's one that I would actually sing, like in the car if it came on, like the Broadway channel. So
I auditioned on what the Phantom sings in the mirror. I auditioned it and it won me a part in college. So
Oh, yeah?
that's a fun little thing.
Do you want
my favorite one?
Do you want to give us a little rendition of it?
Always, literally always. Actually, can I give you a rendition of my favorite song in this one?
Sure.
It's Notes. I love Notes. Where they go, far too many notes for my taste, and most of them about Christine. All we've heard since we've came was Miss Daaye's name. And then she goes, she's here. And that's how the song ends.
Okay.
I love it.
That's actually really
Okay.
good.
Thank you. All right, are we ready for...
And now
It's
seal.
it's taking forever.
Okay. No worries. We can wait. But I'm also keen once Ryan's all queued up to then, and once we do this, to tell him about 2, because I think he's going to. Do you know the plot of 2, Alan?
I know the setting, and even that's just enough for me. Like, you know what? Nope.
Oh
Like
boy. The setting's like the redeeming part of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it gets worse from there.
Oh, God.
Ugh, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Nothing? You can't pull it up on your phone?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I can, but I can't listen to it.
That's okay. I mean, you can have it go through. You have it go through your microphone. I'm going to end up cutting all this for the actual podcast. So.
Oh, nice.
This is just for the live stream viewers.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Actually, you
had
know
a,
what? You know what I can do?
What?
I can play. If you guys are going to pull it up, I can pull it up into the live stream.
Oh, nice.
Let me find it. Yeah, there we go.
To me, you're like a grown addiction that I can't deny.
Okay. A little bit of a tease. The other option is I can just play it in the live stream for you guys if that works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for you to play it in the live stream for it.
But it's gonna. Okay. So Devin, you go ahead. I will hit play.
Okay, great. Got it.
To me, you're like a grown addiction that I can't deny. Now, won't you tell me, is that healthy, baby? But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become a lot?
Oh, I hate it. Oh my
That
gosh.
you shine can't be seen. Baby, I can feel you to a kiss from
Alan, it fits so well.
Right?
Alan, I'm actually really mad about this.
No, I didn't do anything. I just lined it up to the end of the song. That's all I did. So even with the pull away, it lines up perfectly with the music fading out. Like it's so perfect. And
Wow.
Joel Schumacher directed that video. So like the Seal video. So
Do you think Joe Schumacher does that in his free time? I bet he does. I bet he knew he did that.
I don't think he does because he's dead.
Well, this is super awkward. I didn't know he was dead.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad.
I'll can I redeem you with the Joel Schumacher story that I have?
Yes, please.
Because I teased that I have a Kevin Smith story to tell as well.
Yeah.
I've told you guys this. I don't think I've talked about this on the show, but enough time has passed. I'm going to talk about it on the show. So a few months ago, I went to New Jersey to see the director's cut of Jersey Girl at Kevin Smith's theater. And because it's like a Kevin Smith 90s, I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear this Batman shirt. So I wore this Batman shirt. So I'm in the lobby getting popcorn and somebody stops me like, hey, cool Batman Forever shirt. Do you like Batman Forever? It's like, yeah, I'm wearing a shirt. And he's like, cool. I have a copy of the Schumacher cut. Do you want one? And I was like, go on. So for those of you who don't know, the Schumacher cut is Joel Schumacher's director's cut of Batman Forever that actually makes sense as to why it's called Batman Forever, among other things. There's a whole bunch of deleted scenes. It's an unfinished film that he had a copy of. So I met up with him in the theater, gave him my contact information. That night, Kevin Smith did the auction that I got some stuff at, and this guy sweetened his deal. He's like, I'll pay $50 and a copy of the Schumacher cut. And Kevin Smith's like, wait, you have the Schumacher cut? And he's like, stop the whole auction to be like, tell me more about this. And since then, Kevin Smith has gone on record saying, I have the Schumacher cut. I've seen the Schumacher cut, and has shown it twice at his theater in New Jersey. And talked about it on Fat Man Beyond. Meanwhile, I have still not gotten my copy of Batman Forever, the Schumacher cut. So
is that guy listening? Is that employee listening?
Can we shame him into getting you the Schumacher? No, I'm not. I don't want to shame him. Like, things happen, and I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. Like, I would love to see it. I didn't make it in New Jersey when they showed it this past weekend. Or last weekend. I missed it, but I feel like the 30th anniversary of Batman Forever is coming up. So maybe, especially when there's no content because of a strike or two, maybe Warner Brothers will put something out to celebrate the 30th anniversary. So, but
get it? You have to share, Alan. You have to. I need to see.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I might just find what I can, like, just for a side project, find what I can from it, like into deleted scenes and all that, and just do it myself. Because I think there's enough content out there that I could put it together.
That's very cool. Do you think that's
Yeah.
what this guy did? Do you think he put it together?
No, he actually had like a rough cut of it from the 90s.
Wow.
Like, because it had a temporary score where the score was. He told me it was the score from Interview with a Vampire. So.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and like some of the Michael Keaton, Danny Elfman score.
Wow.
So
Cool.
yeah, that's my Joel Schumacher story. May he rest in peace.
Now hold on. Did you have a band story from when we played this in band while we're reminiscing?
Oh yes, I do.
Tell me.
So, Devon, do you remember how the part in that that piece for Phantom started? Do you remember?
Bum 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 bum.
No, for when it's Phantom of the Opera, there's something that there's a transition to the Phantom of the Opera. Do you remember what it was?
No, I don't remember.
Because it was loud and obnoxious. It was a gong.
Was a gong. That's
so
right.
This, I hope he's watching right now. When that gong when we performed this piece, it was for the Music in Our Schools concert in the gymnasium. So not very acoustically friendly, much like my current basement. But so we're in a gymnasium and the percussionist just whacks the gong and it's super loud. And my brother, who's 4 or 5 at the time, no, that can't be right. Yeah, 5 or 6. He hits they hit the gong and he just screams at the top of his lungs. And I hear him and I'm playing trumpet trying not to laugh my ass off. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I forgot the transition was a gong. What a weird transition there.
Yeah, because it was like one of the opening pieces, and then I think it was "Think of Me," and then it went into the gong.
Seamless transition, if ever there was one.
Yeah.
Think of Me did need more gong. You're absolutely right.
Oh. Yeah.
So, speaking of transition, I don't even know if this fits in transition or not.
You know
what's really weird about movie like versions of like established stage plays?
Tell me.
When they do weird things with like the sets, like painting up a bunch of muscle builders' arms and sticking them through paper mache walls and holding candles. And then when you go back to said hallway, even though it was glistening with, like clean and candles, and then they go back to that same hallway and it's just covered in cobwebs.
Yeah. So that's really fun. So I actually have a genuine story for that. So the muscly arms that are painted holding the candlesticks, that's a reference to a really, really, really old version of Beauty and the Beast, like pre-Disney version of Beauty and the Beast, where that's what the Beast castle looked like, where it was all those arms holding it. And I always took them, like, going back and them being, like, gross cobwebs as, like, Christine was in a daze and everything was more beautiful, but this is the real ugly version of it. But that's how I took it, because I've seen this movie a lot. Did you guys read it that way, or?
No.
I just thought it was weird.
And to be fair, they do stage things very differently in this. Like, I think the one that always gets me, having seen the stage play, is The Point of No Return, when they put on the Phantoms play, and it's Don Juan triumphant, and the music's very weird. Like, in the stage adaptation, they're actually putting on another musical. In the film, they, like, paint some things red and have people dressed up in black garments, and, like, that's the whole musical. And it's like, well, you could have tried harder, and it makes more sense the way that they do it in the musical than, like, they put on a budget high school production because they knew they were just trying to arrest the Phantom anyway. Like, I don't know, that's always the one set that bothers me the most, I think, is that. And then also there's a weird movie goof where Patrick Wilson falls into water and a grate closes over his head. But, like, the way the grate would have worked, like, it wasn't there when he fell in and magically appeared later.
Here's one of my hot takes for this movie.
Yeah.
I think this is the only time I've ever really liked Patrick Wilson, which I did not expect to like him in this. Because, one, I kept thinking he was James Marsden.
Go ahead.
And two, that hair.
Oh.
Like, it bugs me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it's obviously a wig, but if you're gonna like have that bad of a wig, just give him the Farquaad haircut and just call it a day.
I never paid attention to his hair that much. Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. Yep. I don't know. He's totally fine in this. I don't think he's ever my favorite Raul. I don't think I've ever liked Raul as a character until I saw him on stage. I just don't think he's much of a person in this, to be honest. Like, he doesn't have much of a character.
He's not, but compared to the Phantom, like...
Fair. Totally fair.
The lesser of two evils. He's the Obi-Wan to the Phantom's Vader.
I think my favorite... I see what you did there. Yeah. My favorite part of this whole thing is whenever the Phantom has Raul, like, trapped and in danger, and, like, he's making Christine choose between him or Patrick Wilson. And, like, I've watched this movie a lot. I have no idea what's going on in that scene. He's got him, like, tied up to a grate, but then puts a noose around his neck that wouldn't work because he's tied up to the grate. Like, would
he lower the grate and, like, drown him?
But the grate only goes up and down. Like, you watched the grate lower earlier. It can't go any farther. Like, he's just in some vague amount of danger. Like, there's really nothing, like, happening to him in that scene.
I think... Okay, so... I always butcher his name. Gerard Butler plays the Phantom.
Yeah.
So, I feel like the crime that the production committed that caused all these problems, the fact that they had him shave. If they wouldn't have had him shave and clean faced, he would have been able to think straight.
Well, so here's my big question about Gerard Butler's looks in this movie, and this isn't a hot take. This is a pretty cold take. The whole plot of the movie is that his face was so ugly. He was I've looked worse. Alan, you've seen me worse. When I rolled my face in poison ivy and decided to come to school the next day, I look worse than Gerard Butler looks in this. Like, it's like they're like, we want him ugly, but still sexy. And, like, tried to, like, manage that.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, the beard thing, like, something was off about Gerard Butler's face, and I guess that was it. Like, I'm so used to seeing him with facial hair. Like, even his headshot on IMDb, he has some scruff. I'm trying to remember what it is that was making me think this is what happens, but I really expected him to take off the mask and just be fine underneath. Like, I'm so deformed. No.
It's just Gerard Butler.
See, the thing is, and I had the opposite effect because I've seen like so like I said before, I was in like a specialized art class as at my VOTEC. So I had a lot of classmates that did a lot of like at-home art, sketchbooks. They always had their sketchbooks with them. The type of people that would have been like the first gen to make that would have made DeviantArt website famous like that, and so I've seen people do their own like fan drawings of what the Phantom looked like without the mask, and I've seen everything from like light scarring to like like no skin, muscles, bone protruding. So I was expecting like a skull to be there, especially after one of the like crewmen on the stage was talking about the Phantom, about how like he didn't have a nose.
Yep.
And stuff like that. Like, I was expecting so much more.
Well, in the stage productions, like, you see his brain. Like, he's like he needs the mask to, like, there's a chunk up here that you see, like, he needs the mask to, like, survive.
Yeah.
This all reminds me of the 1995 Joel Schumacher film with called Batman Forever that features Two-Face.
Things I didn't realize.
They're the same movie. Like,
Oh, I love it. So, before I talk about the sequel, Love Never Dies, do you two have anything else about Phantom of the Opera before I get your hot takes on whether or not you'd watch the sequel?
I'm a little bit concerned looking at my background that I have a problem with Batman Forever. But how committed was I to the bit? Fully committed.
You absolutely were.
Yes.
You did not sell yourself short.
I got nothing.
Ryan,
I would like to see an adaptation of the Phantom of the Opera where they where at some point a theater goer gets confused for the opera because he was wearing a prosthetic mask, which is what the Phantom of the Opera was using.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for the time, that was an actual medical thing that people wore that had issues with their face. They would just paint them to be the skin tone of the patient that wore them.
I didn't know that. I truly didn't know that.
So, like, if you were part of some skirmish or a war at some point, and you got like your face deformed, plastic surgery really wasn't a thing. So they would just make a cover for it, and that's what. So what the Phantom of the Opera was wearing for the time period was an actual medical device. It wasn't painted to match his skin tone because it was probably stolen by the woman who forced him to live in the sewer, just being a little kid. So again, big bad is the ballerina teacher, like they all are. Anyway, let's go forward.
What an excellent transition into what happens next. So, after the plot of Phantom of the Opera, according to its sequel, Love Never Dies, two very important things happen. One of which is Christine immediately turns back around and has sex with the Phantom. Then turns back around again and lives her life with Raoul. So that is canon. That is what happens.
Okay, can I make a prediction here?
Of course you can.
The babies is the Phantoms.
The babies is the Phantoms. Because, in fact, the whole play takes place in 1907 New York, where on Coney Island, I think, on Coney Island, the Phantom opens basically a circus. He is no longer relegated to the shadows. He is now very happy to be performing and to be showing people performing. So, part of this is that he got over because of Madame Giry, the lady that put him in the basement, helped him to come over. He then convinces Christine that she also needs to perform in his circus and takes Christine and her whole family, including son and now raging alcoholic Raoul, from Paris all the way to New York City. Hijinks ensue where the Phantom wants Christine to perform in his circus, and she doesn't want to perform in his circus because that's that tricksy Phantom from the first time. And there's this whole thing where Raoul never really loved her, and the only person that ever actually loved her for real really was the Phantom. And then in the end, Meg Giry, Madame Giry's daughter, the blonde lady that was a ballerina, she decides that she gets jealous because her mom was too involved with the Phantom and not as much involved in her life. So she decides to kidnap Christine. So Christine becomes kidnapped, and then in the exchange during the kidnapping, Meg Giry brings a gun and accidentally shoots and kills Christine, the Phantom's only true love. Except now he's gained a son.
So
that's Love Never Dies.
I have nothing good to say about the person who wrote that one.
It was Andrew Lloyd Webber.
What in the archive of our own fan fiction BS is that?
That's all it was. It's like he just trolled through all of the fanfic of this. And
is
just,
he okay?
Added all of it. No.
Do they rap in this? Like, what's the angle here? Like,
he spent so much money on the costuming for the original show. He has so many random circus acts in this, like how they would have some of the opera bits you'd get to watch. A lot of this is the carnival acts that you get to watch.
Okay. So pretty much this is Andrew Lloyd Webber went to his fridge, saw all of his leftovers in the costume department. He's like, you know what? I'm going to make a show around all this and tie it back into Phantom.
Yeah, basically.
I wouldn't be surprised if you told me that there were dancing cats in this at one point.
I'll have to send at some point screenshots of what some of the outfits were in this because they're insane.
They did. They filmed a stage version of this, and you can rent it on YouTube. You can rent it wherever you. Yeah, you can watch it. I feel like that should be our next pick. Like,
oh no! Oh, you can't make me watch it. I'll be so upset.
No,
But
honestly, like
Yeah.
out of that whole description you just gave us, gave me an idea for my next pick,
I'm so
which-
excited.
which isn't because of anything bad you said. It just made something click in my head that reminded me of what I want to make you guys watch next.
God, I hope it's Batman Forever.
When was the last time you saw Batman Forever?
It's been years. It's been
Okay.
long enough that I don't remember plot points.
Okay,
I just remember the puns.
all right, and this one's not that punny.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
more Batman and Robin. Ryan, when's
Yeah.
the last time you saw Batman Forever?
A year and a half ago.
Okay.
Well done.
I like Batman movies.
They're good movies.
Not
I
as
have
much
them
as
all on
me.
Blu-ray. Yeah.
Yeah. That may or may not be a Halloween movie, so we could probably work something out.
Is it a Halloween movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trick or treat.
Don't
Yeah.
remember that.
All right. Anything else for Phantom of the Opera or Love Never Dies?
No, man, that's it.
Were the
Love
rev-
should have died.
I was going to say that was the headline in the paper the next day. Love should have died and stayed dead. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that does it for this week's episode on the Phantom of the Opera, Batman Forever. Next week's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be live on Tuesday. Devon and Ryan are going to be live on Wednesday.
Mhm.
So what are you guys going to do then?
Brian, would you like to introduce it?
Yes. So there's a lot of background to this, which Devin and I will explain when we go live on Wednesday. I do not remember the exact year it came out, but Devin and I are going to be talking about the original Dune movie that was based off the book, the one that came out during the 70s. It is something that Devin and I have been talking about on the side for a little bit because I just recently picked up the book, so I'm going to be starting my read through. But yeah, so Alan, the reason why we're doing this is to spare you grief that we know that you would go through if we did this with you on the show.
No, that's fine. I'm not a huge David Lynch fan. Can I ask
Yeah.
one question though?
Yeah.
Or can I just? This is just where my mind went. So tell me if I'm wrong, Ryan, and I don't mean any offense by this. Did you
Okay.
start reading Dune because of Futurama?
No. In fact, this was something that I was bored like 2 months ago, and I saw that the David Lynch Dune was available to watch, and I was like, I didn't really mind it too much the first time I saw it. I don't really have anything else to do right now. I'm gonna watch this again, and I was like, I think I like the corniness of this. I think I might actually like this.
That might be the one David Lynch movie I would like, but you two go ahead and do it without me.
Now I feel a little bad.
Don't. Don't. I've got a busy weekend. If I was available this weekend, I would absolutely join you guys. Maybe I will if I can squeeze it in between now and the weekend. Maybe I'll join you on Wednesday, but I'm not gonna commit to that because I've got a packed weekend and a packed.
Yeah,
week.
no, we understand. Yeah.
So
And if worst comes to worst, like pop in and be like, "It was good," and then leave.
yeah. I'll see if I can give you notes or something. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Well, until next time for You Have to Watch This Podcast, if you are listening to the show, go ahead and head over to our Instagram to see the clip of Seal and the Phantom, or as I called the clip when I saved it out, All I Ask of Seal. You can check that out on our Instagram. You can subscribe to our YouTube, listen to You Have to Watch This Podcast on all major podcasting platforms. While you're there, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, all those places. And until next time for You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devon.
And ladies and gentlemen, Phantom Seal.
To me, you're like a grown addiction that I can't deny.
There's no better way to
Won't you
end it.
tell me is that healthy, baby? But did you know that when it snows,
Seal
my
actually
eyes become a large and the light that
now
you
that you've done that.
shine
Oh, no.
can't be seen?